The Zycon probe pulsed with excitement. After months of drifting through dull, lifeless sectors, it finally encountered something anomalous. Sensor readings surged, detailing a vast debris field where no star system should exist. This was no natural phenomenon, as these were the fractured remnants of a fleet. Captain Desna squirmed with a thrill only a true explorer could understand. The Zycon reveled in the unknown, and this was the ultimate mystery. Ordering her crew to prepare for a closer sweep, Desna could not shake the sense that this wasn't simply debris. This was more like history. The probe drifted closer, and as the ruins resolved into focus, even Desna was shaken. It wasn't the size that left her breathless, because Zycon dreadnoughts would dwarf many of these vessels. No, it was the brutal, inelegant efficiency in their forms. These weren't the sleek, artful designs of civilized species. These were tools. And these tools were crafted for a singular, terrifying purpose. They were crafted for war. Ancient data arrays, miraculously intact, were plucked from the void and delivered to Desna's analysts. Their eyes widened in a mix of horror and awe as they translated faded markings on battered hulls. Humans, the name was barely a whisper, a legend among the more warlike races of the galaxy. This was their handiwork. The humans were primitives when the Zycon first soared through the stars, a species only just mastering radio waves when Zycon fleets were capable of bending space itself. Yet here lay the relics of a fleet built to wage interstellar war. The silence in the Zycon ship was a tangible thing, filled with questions no one dared to voice. How had these primitives developed such power? And what enemy had they faced to build such a terrifying force? Even more chilling, where were they now? Desna ordered a careful scan of the surrounding star systems. There had to be clues of a homeworld, remnants of civilization, perhaps even survivors. She needed answers, needed to understand what forces had shaped these warlike beings from a backwater world. Days turned into weeks. There was nothing. No planets teeming with life, no transmissions, not even the faintest hint of where the humans had vanished to. It was as though their entire species had simply winked out of existence, leaving only their war machines behind as a grim epitaph. The debris field became Desna's obsession. She began recognizing patterns in the chaotic ruins. Damaged hulls revealed not the wild desperation of a losing battle, but a chillingly calculated sacrifice. It seemed that sections of the fleet had been deliberately thrown into the teeth of the enemy, drawing fire while the rest escaped. But escaped to where? One particularly gargantuan wreck drew Desna's attention. Its vast form, even shattered, dwarfed the other ruined vessels. Intrigued, she dispatched a salvage team. They found it deep within the bowels of that monstrous ship, half buried under twisted metal and scorched circuitry. A data core, almost miraculously unscathed. Back on Desna's vessel, the core reluctantly coughed up its secrets. It wasn't a battle log or a technological blueprint. It held fragments of history, dispatches, and what seemed to be personal logs. Desna hesitated. This felt like an invasion of privacy, yet the drive to understand these vanished warriors overrode her qualms. Images flickered to life, not of grand space battles against some unknown foe, but of a dying planet. Choking skies, desolate landscapes, cities crumbling into dust. It was a world in its death throes. Then came the voices, not in the lilting speech of the Zycon, but harsh, guttural, the sounds of desperate determination, not a species driven by conquest, but a species fighting for survival. Against all odds, the humans had built this fleet in the face of their annihilation. They had not set out to dominate the galaxy, but to flee their cradle as it burned beneath them. A cold fear washed over Desna, unlike anything she'd ever known. The Zycon, like countless races before them, had grown complacent. They mastered technology, conquered the heavens, and assumed their place at the pinnacle of galactic civilization. The humans shattered that illusion. They were a reminder that even the strongest empires could fall and that the universe didn't bend to anyone's will. The final entry in the salvage data core wasn't a war cry or a lament. It was a set of coordinates and a single message repeated across multiple languages, and likely a Hail Mary tossed into the vastness of space, a simple plea: we seek refuge. Desna knew she could turn away and leave the fate of a desperate species unknown. The humans might be lost forever, or they might have found a new home, one their records would never reveal. Yet the explorer in her refused to condemn these vanished warriors to the eternal silence of a forgotten fleet. With a resolute command, Captain Desna charted a course. The Zycon probe, built for exploration and discovery, would become a vessel of hope. It was a slim chance, chasing the ghost of a species long gone. But for a brief, thrilling moment, Desna was no longer just a Zycon captain. She was the inheritor of a legacy, the answer to a plea lost among the stars. Aboard the ship, the human story spread like wildfire. There was fascination and a strange echo of kinship in the Zycon crew. Their civilization had nearly succumbed to internal conflict centuries ago. Now they saw the chilling reflection of what might have been, and a stark reminder of the determination required for survival. The coordinates led them to an unremarkable star system, a lonely yellow sun surrounded by barren planets. At first it seemed as though the humans' desperate gamble had failed. Yet, on the third planet, nestled within a crater of a ravaged past, sensors detected a faint energy signature. Hidden life. Could this be it? A hidden haven built by those who escaped. Desna hesitated. Had the humans survived only to become suspicious hermits, fearful of the touch of other species? The consequences of reaching out were incalculable, for the humans and for the Zycon themselves.